Horror films carry the age rating of either 15 or 18. This is because horror film conventions such as threat, fear, and gore are prohibited at the lower 12 and 12A ratings. For 15 rated horror films such as Night of the Living Dead, they can contain moderate horror and violence associated with the genre, but it cannot be too strong.
Night of the Living Dead.
Swearing is allowed for this rating, usually used by characters out of fear and in context. For 18 rated films, excessive violence and gore is allowed, which makes this rating more suitable for the horror genre. Films such as Saw are good examples of this 18 film rating, because it contains lots of gore, fear, and explicit language unsuitable for both minors and the 15 age rating.
History of horror. Horror was first seen in the early 1890s. With the rise of cinema, depictions of supernatural events were sometimes seen in silent short films. French short film Le Manoir du Diable or The Haunted Castle is generally credited as the first horror film and was released in 1896. As films with sounds evolved, Universal Pictures began a gothic horror film series, featuring iconic films such as Dracula and Frankenstein, both being released in 1931. Spurred on by a company the size of Universal, the popularity of the genre grew, and the advances in technology meant that by the 1950s and 60s, the genre was able to shift and subgenres such as demonic horrors were developed. Supernatural began to feature in films once again after the rise of monsters in the 30s. In the 1970s and 80s, films featuring devil possession became popular, and there was a strong cult market for gory horror films. The 1990s saw the birth of the slasher film, with the likes of Friday the 13th being released. This genre was a good way for companies to produce films as they had a large team market and could be made on a low budget. The development of technology continued to have an effect on the growth of horror films, and each generation was hungry for more creative and impressive films. Franchise films such as the Saw films became more popular by the 2000s, and there was a zombie film revival with the release of films such as 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later.
Wes Craven, known for his disturbed and deformed appearance of his villains and his brutal and unglamorous representations of violence. Director of many horror films, including Nightmare on Elm Street, which grossed $500 million at the box office for all sequels. All of the Scream films, which is the first Scream winning an MTV Best Movie Award, and both 1 and 2 grossing over $100 million at the box office. As well as these, he has also directed both parts of The Hills Have Eyes and the original of The Last House on the Left. Winner of 8 Laurel Awards, 5 Lifetime Awards, 1 Golden Globe, as well as being nominated for 2 Golden Globes and numerous Oscars, is Sir Alfred Hitchcock. Well known and liked director for his techniques in the thriller and suspense genre, with hit movies such as Spellbound and in particular Psycho, which he directed in 1960. Psycho is the classic thriller about a woman who runs away with money she stole to start over again, but ends up at a motel run by a psycho. This film got $50 million at the box office.
She just goes a little mad sometimes.
Contemporary director James Wan, director of the first Twisted Saw film and the new psychological horror Insidious, which is about a little boy who goes into a coma, becoming a vessel for ghosts in the life after death. This film grossed just under $100 million at the box office and scared very many people.
I want to play a game.